Stream. So today we're going to be doing game analysis with the subscribers, those guys who submit, and girls, because we have so many here on the stream. Those people who do submit their games, I will analyze together here on the stream live. We are live now with 0 drop frames and good audio. Mubot just put up the chess lecture little blob there. I just want to say that chesslecture.com, I think the promotion's still on. If you do want to see 500 of my awesome videos for chesslecture.com and many others from strong players, you can sign up at chesslecture.com for a 3-month membership for just $15, I think, until June the 1st. So take advantage of their offer. $15 for 3 months is a great deal. Saves like more than 50% off. chesslecture.com. Anyway, I am a great commercial spokesperson. International Master William Pascal here. We're streaming on chess. Lichess. Streaming on chess. No, we're not streaming on chess. We're streaming about chess on lichess.org. And we are doing it through Twitch. So thanks to Twitch. Thank you, Twitch, for being awesome and making it possible to do this. Welcome, everybody. We've got subscribers here, and that's the key of today's stream, basically. Subscriber stream, game analysis, a couple blitz games we'll throw in there for laughs. And we've got Asterbait in the house, Bob in the house. What kind of games do you recommend for analysis? Instructive ones, good ones. You can also, like, not too many people do this, but you can feel free to throw in like a Grandmaster game or some kind of high-level game that you felt was interesting or you didn't understand. You know, take a game you saw in a book that you didn't understand. We can break it down here in the stream. If you understand everything, then you don't belong here, obviously. You belong, as world champion. But I don't see anybody claiming that. Nefidov, what's up? I've got subscription submissions for game analysis from Asterbait and Tushar and Soltigo. But I haven't seen anybody else, or if I did, I missed them. So if you guys want me to analyze a game, what's up, Mr. Nefidov? I'm going to play a game with Move 11 here. I think it's Move 11. He's challenging me to a 5+3 game. I will play 2 or 3 games to just kind of break up the monotony, because it gets a little slow just doing analysis. This will help me wake up a little bit. I did a lot of lessons today. I'm terrified of Move 11's Bishop H6 in the Marazzi. That's Emery Tate would say we're going back to the woodshed. I don't know what that meant exactly. Sometimes he was kind of scary, but in honor of Emery Tate, I'm not going to bust out the white side Marazzi. We're back to the woodshed. So let's just keep Move 11 guessing. I'm going to play E4. We're going to play something other than Marazzi. That's it. That was all I had prepared. That was all we had prepared today. Let's try something different. Just kind of messing around. You lost your last over-the-board game. Well, Nefidov, it doesn't have to be a choice. I mean, you could submit a game. You might still get lucky and play a blitz game, but I'm only going to play 2 or 3 today. This is Munoz Pantejo against me. I also had this game against Peruvian I am Munoz Pantejo. Or Pantoja, sorry. Hope that didn't mean something bad. My Spanish is really slacking. I don't want to know what a Pantejo is, but there are other things that are close. Why did I play Bishop E2? I'm losing my mind. All right. Well, I'm not warmed up yet. This is not a good move, kids, but it may not be that bad. Not that. That's not what I said. I said Pantejo with an A-N-T. I said this. That's what I said. But I understand, Bob. Munoz Pantoja. Like or almost. All right, Move 11. I don't know. You caught me totally off guard here. Bishop E2 doesn't make sense. I mean, playing G3, I just spaced out. I was getting distracted by the chat. I'm supposed to play Bishop G2. Against Boris Men, I played Move 11's variation years ago. But later I adopted a different approach against Pantoja. I played like some sort of, I guess, knight c6, queen e6 check, and b6 or something like that. Don't play bishop e2, kids. That's not a correct move. Now knight e5 makes me wonder. Dropping a piece. I'm really, really slow today. The position is much worse than I thought it would be. I thought this wouldn't be so bad, but in castling, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to play bishop e2. It was just like, I don't know, in the moment I thought I was playing the white side of the Scandinavian for a second here. Anyway, just an experimental approach. Don't play g3 randomly, you know, with your bishop on e2. Not recommended. What if I played something like knight to g5? Then I have problems of a different variety. Bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, knight d4. The d4 square is a very bad situation. This is already better for black. It was a weird brain fart, basically. I haven't played today. I just taught, and I haven't been warmed up, so I don't take moves back unless I make a mouse slip, and then I think it's okay, you know, to give or take mouse slips back. It's not like I don't expect it in rated games, but if it is a casual game, unfortunately, bishop e2 wasn't a mouse slip; it was like a mental mouse slip. There is a black ant in the house again. That's the second one. I hope it's the same one that was here before. I think they live outside. I saw some anthills outside. Alright, we're back to f6. You gotta get warmed up first, kids. I think f6 is... I don't know. I kind of like the fact that he's played f6 now. I really want to trade my white square bishop off. Probably another bad move. I was strongly tempted to play knight to d2. Ants don't have to pay rent. Little known fact. They pay with their lives, man. I saw that in a video, how horrible f6. f6 is controversial here. He's trying to set up a Marazzi. I don't think it's horrible. Not sure what he's talking about. Something else, probably. But it's controversial because I'm trying to set up an exchange of white square bishops, which he doesn't really want to see if he's got all his pawns on dark squares. The reverse of my last game with move 11, where he played bishop h6 in the Marazzi. This is a good exercise in how not to get a how to not get a good position, basically, with white in 8 moves. But move 11 playing very correctly. f6 is controversial, but interesting. He wants to try to set up reverse Marazzi with e5. Knight h4. I don't know. Is this going to bounce back to, like, g2? Wow. Okay, just check for the sake of checking. It's always a good idea. No. Nope. Nope. Artificial castling in the house. I'm happy that he traded the white square bishops. I don't know why. Theoretically, my bishop is the story of the game. It was meant to go to g2. I put it on e2 by mistake. And then it became a bad piece, a kind of controversial piece. Move 11 here, punishing me pretty hard. Man, I don't like this position at all. I can't just leave my king chilling in the middle of the board. I mean, this is not good. What's up, everyone? Subscriber stream today, guys. So now f6 doesn't matter too much. Good call, Asterbait. I think it doesn't matter that much. You know, he has some theoretical weakness on the white squares. His bishop is bad, for what it's worth, you know. But I think that's not a big deal. Not really a big deal just right about now. Black is just better. He has very strong attacking chances. H5. I'm trying to not weaken my white squares any further with this move. But I absolutely hate white's position, and I would hate it if I were black here with colors reversed. The same, it's horrible. It's not that frequent to see like a Marazzi type position where one's castling opposite sides, but I think move 11 is justified. His attack is strong, you know. Even castling queenside with a c-pawn forward, it's still totally valid. I mean, I don't think that white is safe here. Koto Amatsukami says, I'm stuck around 2000. Well, Koto, I know that you play a lot of fast blitz. You always play extremely fast against me, quickly. Maybe slowing down and really emphasizing more strategy, more long-term planning. You know, it seems like you're very good with quick play reactions, but maybe a deeper, more strategic long-term approach. This is just... We both have bad bishops. I mean, it appears. But I hate my position. That is dangerous. Black is like clearly better here. If I had had time, I would have played something along the lines of like a3, b4, try to break down his c5 pawn. Now my king is not safe. Queen d5 looks very strong. In a very, very bad way here. Switching plans. That was a kind of surprising move by move 11. He's just gonna try to brute force kill me. We've kind of ganged up on the white square, so suddenly white has some ideas. I didn't really want to trade queens there. We got strong knights, better structure, but he's still hanging on. Yeah, I don't know if I would have seen the fork, because I didn't see it last move. It wasn't there last move, okay. Move 11 just resigned because he blundered in exchange with 96. This was a terrible, terrible game by me, and he lost because of time, but even at the end, he's still okay. In my position, it was a disaster. I mean, this was just an absolute brain blunder. You know, I don't mean to play bishop to e2, though. I have to go bishop here. This is a standard position. I mean, the whole point is to play bishop e2. It's very strange that some people have actually played bishop e2 here. Oh my god. Wow. Munoz Pantoja strikes again. He's still playing this. He must be like the world's leading expert. I mean, I must have played him like 10 years ago. That's crazy. So he's actually played bishop e2. This move can't be good. All right, guys. So we're going to go on to game analysis here. I've got Acer, Tushar. Who else is in the list? Bob, Jacob, and the thing is, like, okay, not only is bishop e2 bad, but I played bad. Like, it looks like I played badly after that as well. Yeah, practice with computer. No, I've seen enough. Well played to a point, move 11. You just failed to put me away. I'm not taking a lot of challenges here, guys. I'm doing game analysis for the most part. We're gonna go to our game with Asterbait. Our game analysis submitted by Asterbait. Where is it? Well, I got to turn this game analysis off. It's freezing my computer. Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Game Analysis. Asterbait. Okay, this is a game he played versus VJS. That's the guy who won my tournament? We got a draw. Was this the draw with the 2000 player? Man, that was a terrible game by me. And move 11 sort of melted down. I mean, at the end, he just was short of time. He should have been able to put me. He should have been able to put me away without trading queens. Had me very much on the rail. All right, so this is Asterbait against VJS. This is from and the hourly. No, this is not the guy who won my tournament. This is a 2000 player. Hourly Rapid Arena. All right. I think that Asterbait has been improving. Is there a good book on just basic chess principles? I mean, that's a good question. There must be. That's too basic for me. I'm overqualified. I don't know. I guess I should be the one to write it. You don't need a book. You can just listen to my stream. I'm big on basic principles. So, Asterbait is what? Black? You're actually black here. My bad. So this is for the subscribers, guys. Everyone who's a subscriber can submit a game if we have enough time, and we're going to go over it together. Missed hanging pieces. In this game, you're talking about my game with move 11. I think Bob's talking about English. So the C3 Sicilian is always tough to meet. Okay, Chernev is good. You know, I like Chernev, but on specifically like basic principles, I'm not sure. Logical chess, move by move. Take back suggesting. I'm going to have to think on this one. You know, Asterbay plays a line that a good friend of mine, International Master Sladgie, plays, but Emil, I don't know. This is a very risky line. It was like Sladgie and Bela Pereni and Tibor Tolnai, a lot of Hungarian players kind of shared some repertoire ideas. This years ago in like the late 80s. I mean, this line is really risky for black, I think. I just I just don't just don't. No.
No.
No, I mean it's a really sketchy line for black. I don't know. You're giving white what he wants, which is like achieving the center. So I just don't like it particularly. It's dangerous in the hands of a strong player, but here it's really risky. So against the c3 Sicilian, black has three primary responses, and they're all good. d5, knocking out the e4 pawn. Knight f6, that's more difficult to play, I think, playing in the style of Aliekin's defense. And like if you like French type structures, there's nothing wrong with e6, but d6 is it's kind of risky. I don't like this. It's playable, but it's only like if you really want to be like a bullfighter and give white an advantage and try to get him to overextend himself. But that's a hard way to play chess. All right, so d4, and right away I think that right here, you know, Asterbate makes a mistake right out of the gate, exchanging on d4. You're supposed to play knight f6, and then white plays bishop to d3 for lack of really a better move. And now, let me get the opening book on. My friend Emil plays g6. That seems to be the main line. I think that there are other lines with knight c6 also. But you can exchange on d4 first. This is a very important principle. Keep the tension in general. And when you exchange on c takes d, you're giving him a good square for his knight. One of the biggest drawbacks of this entire opening for white, Asterbate, is the fact that white's knight can't go to its best square on c3. So when you exchange pawns on d4, you're exchanging a fourth rank pawn. If you think about it, like you ever see masters analyze, they just pull the pawns off the board. It's like d4, just make this pawn and this pawn magically disappear. You're trading a fourth rank pawn for a third rank pawn, and you're giving him a good square for his knight at c3. So now, not only does he have the ultimate pawn center, but he also has his knight on an optimal square. Don't ask me where the knight on c6 goes. I mean, I don't like this line for black, and I never understood it, to be honest with you. It's like a really... And the best, with best case scenario, you just get like a really weird, bizarre looking Pierce where you've played c5, but I can't really say that I like this line. Anyway, so d6, I like d5 the best, but not everybody likes bringing their queen out early. Here it's justified because the knight can't go to c3. I've played that a lot. I've played knight f6 a lot. Snatch Pato, you're a streamer too. I've seen you streaming here on lichess. Welcome, guys. C Nation. So I just, again, I don't recommend this for like players under, say, expert level. You know, I mean, it's just too hard to play for black, even for masters. I don't understand d6. So here we are. Anyway, so he exchanges on d4, blop, blop, and, you know, now we just got a good knight on c3 for white. This is just a clear advantage to white. This is an optimal opening. Really, it's just utopia. Knight f3, knight f6, knight c3. He doesn't play knight c3. This move is okay. And I don't even know about e6. You know, your bishop's kind of blocked in. Maybe you can play like... Maybe you can play b6 later on and put your bishop on b7. Kind of like a Owen defense or whatever. You know, right about now, I'm thinking like already white can do really primitive stuff with e5 and starting to just do some sort of direct attacking plan. Queen e2, queen e4, bang, bang, bang. You know, that's a good arrow, but it's already like critical, you know, condition for black here. Asterbate just drops a pawn. I don't see any compensation. Just a blunder. And then he sacks a pawn with this crazy... He sacks a pawn with a crazy, what do you call it? People call this the fishing pole. It's just not good. But in the positive sense, you seem to have confused white. He's never seen anything like this before. And so he wins a pawn, but your pieces are sort of active, pointing at his king side, so he has to be careful. H3, conservative move. Knight e5. So, you know, the smoke clears, and you're down a pawn with no compensation for it, really, whatsoever. On the positive side, you're not getting brutally checkmated by something like e5, queen e2, queen e4, and direct attacks like that. So the only thing you've achieved is avoiding getting directly attacked. On the negative part of the, tally, you're basically just a pawn down and white has a center. It's really bad. Yeah, this move looks a little artificial. Queen c2, not a little bit, like a lot. He's starting to go wrong. He's putting his queen in exposed position on c2, like walking into knight c6, knight d4, knight b4 threats. He's putting it on a line where it's going to get attacked by your rook on the c file. So it was an intelligent gambit. So knight c6 here, a3, stopping knight b4. But now it's to the point where like black's actually getting ahead in development. You're down a pawn, but you're actually feels like a move ahead in terms of like development, and he's even weakened his king side. So the computer has gone off. Yes. Man, this should get like an exclamation point, dude. I mean, Stockfish doesn't seem to give out too many exclamation points, but Queen H4, we should give you an honorary exclamation point for that move. After this crazy, dubious line with the pawn sack for nothing, now you start playing best moves. Queen H4. And suddenly white is in serious, like, has serious issues. I mean, there are definite dark square weaknesses. You've got sort of bishop takes h3. Like, looks like it's threatening possibly very soon. Knight to d4. So how easy it is for white to like mess up this position very quickly. He saw knight d4. So he circumvented that. And then you hammered him with bishop takes h3. The only thing defending him against bishop h3 in the first place was like the lateral queen defense. I mean, I was looking at the prior move. I mean, basically, you played queen h4, and you're not threatening bishop takes h3, because in those lines, he's recapturing, and then when you take on h3, he has f4, and his queen defends the mate laterally. So when he plays knight e2, ironically, man, nice job. I mean, as badly as you played the opening, tactically you're on here. So if he takes back, you take with the queen. You're threatening mate on h2. He only has a couple ways to protect, but you have this knight d4 idea. Queen and knight combination, man. This is really a nice move. Maybe, he should seriously think about not recapturing. What we say is automatic recapture. This is a classic example. My first really good tournament, I remember very clearly. I was like an expert, and I knocked off a couple of FIDE masters. And then in the third game, I played another FIDE master, and I was black in a Caro-Kann, and he just did bishop takes h6. Just this same kind of combination. I ended up winning that game and having the best tournament of my life, where I simply didn't recapture on h6. I was just down a pawn, but I sucked it up and I defended somehow and won the game. And the same thing here for white. I mean, you took a pawn, but it's not, by itself, it's not crushing him. So he can still defend, it looks like, with f4. But in order to defend a bad position, you have to first know that you have a bad position. A friend of mine was saying this recently. He said, a friend of mine who's a former master, he said, what's the difference between masters and grandmasters? And he said, the grandmasters basically they only make one mistake. They never make the second mistake, But sometimes the second mistake is not knowing you made the first mistake. And I think this is a great analogy. White has to know he made a mistake here. He can't just blindly take on h3. Let's see what happens though. Queen takes h3, and then he figures f4. And this is not an easy position. I would have played what you played, knight d4. I also would have played this. I'm 99% certain. That's the move that seems obvious. I agree. The main line is the threat of knight f3. If he takes it, he's in a lot of trouble. Not easy out of hand to say, oh, this is winning unless you're a computer, but you have really strong threats, like maybe rook here, rook here, rook here. Very quickly, all your pieces filter in, plus queen g3. So, thanks everyone for watching, by the way. This move would have been, this is what he did, and it's very intuitive and natural. The computer comes up with exceptional moves. I mean, this is an extremely insane move to come up with. It doesn't look like black has time for that kind of move. But this move should be found. Apparently the best move. The thing about this move, the reason you shouldn't miss it is because it is an extremely forcing move. And I think Charles Hurtan wrote a chess tactics book about forcing moves. FIDE Master Charlie Hurtan was a friend of mine and a regular opponent. He lives out in western Massachusetts. He's like a hermit. But he did write some chess books. I think one of them was ironically like a tactics book, which was funny because Charlie I always thought was like just a great positional player. But anyways, his emphasis is on forcing moves, and yeah, I mean, that's the kind of move there's no excuse to miss if it's something you can calculate by a series of forcing moves. Bishop d4 check. We should at least have taken a look at this. It looks kind of innocuous, though, honestly. You've got this check on f3. Yeah, maybe. You're hitting his queen. Okay. You have no other pieces developed. The rooks are not in the game. And I think the kicker, though, is that bishop is hard to keep protected. It's that his queen is tied down to that bishop on d3. All of this is really, like, caused by the fact that white played that move queen c2. The placement of the queen on c2 caused so many problems for him. It's like exposed along the c file. It's hit by the knight. And if it had been on d1 or e2, it could have been at least like protecting this diagonal. So that's hard to find, though, But anyway, I mean, you have a limited amount of time. I like knight d4. It's still a good move. And then white just, like, plays a crazy move here. I mean, at the very least, rook queen d1. I mean, this looks passive, but you can sack the exchange or whatever with something like, knight takes, rook takes, queen takes, f takes e5. This is what I would expect, and then we're bringing the rook down. And even though white is up material, his king is just totally open. So structurally bad for white, or white is equal material, whatever you want to call it. Even after I win this, man, this is just terrible for white. It's much, much better for black. But queen c5, crazy move. That's nowhere near the vicinity of his king. How could that possibly save him? So you played knight takes e2. But here you had this just devastating move, queen takes d3. He can't capture on d4. And so you're just going to be like up 100 pawns or something. I mean, after queen takes e5 or f takes e5, you're basically just on a poker free roll here. Knight takes, queen takes e2. Knight takes e2 check, trade it off, whatever, and this is ridiculous. I mean, he has no pawns left. They're all gone. He has no king safety. It's just lost for white. So Asterbay played knight takes e2. And with a lot of time left, 7 minutes. You had way too much time here. You're playing a bit too fast. So after bishop takes e2 check, it's a draw by rep. Yeah, but that's still not a bad result. I mean, the guy was rated 2,000, 500 points higher, and I guess he figured, okay. Could you possibly have more here? Maybe, but this queen is going to capture the bishop with tempo. So looking at things like rook c8, I guess queen takes e5. He also might have better. He can just come back and protect. So you don't have a choice. You have to take the draw there. But overall, there were a lot of mistakes by both sides, but you showed some promise, Asterbait. I mean, queen h4, the sacrifice on h3, that's pretty impressive. You know, the opening was bad and you didn't follow up correctly at the end, but overall, very good instincts with queen h4 and takes on h3. All right, guys, let's do another one here. My next subscriber game analysis is Tushar. Welcome everyone to my stream. Today is my subscriber stream, so I go over subscriber games. I mean, just anything they submitted. It can be their game. It can be maybe a Grandmaster game or a famous game that they wanted to just take a look at. So you're open to whatever you want to look at. I think that I've sensed this thing about Tushar, one of our regular subscribers here, is that he likes to submit the longest games he can find. I think he gets like his money's worth by putting like 80 moves games. I'm just kidding, man. It just always seems like it's a really long game, man. 80 move game. All right. Wow, I'll try to like summarize this one in less than 20 minutes. I mean, we could go on forever. It looks like black is just totally winning though at the end. Like the last part of the game we can probably leave off. From that point at move 55, it looks like it's a cliffhanger. So let's focus on the early part of the first 50 moves of this game. The early 50 moves. All right, Tushar is black. And he's playing the black side of Lopez, but this is d4. d4, knight f6. c4, c6. And I think I talked about this once before. I don't think that there's a lot of like specific reason for this move. You could still play some weird King's Indians with g6, but I was just wondering if it's not like a good way for Slav players to kind of discourage the exchange variation. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone ever, really concretely thought about this, but it could give white less options in terms of which kind of exchange variations. It's like, but are you really? Well, are you afraid of the exchange variation? No, but it's annoying, especially if you're playing like lower rated players. So I'm just trying to think of reasoning for this, move order. Well, he plays knight f6 on move 1 and can still play the Slav. I've encountered this very, very rarely. Knight c3, and now d5. Now, if you want to play an exchange variation, it's still an exchange variation. You've avoided my favorite line. This is a weird exchange variation line that some good players have played recently. I don't like the exchange variation, but I do think this line is kind of funny. Like, I played this against Nefedov in a correspondence game. The Trompowsky crossed with the exchange variation. No, seriously, this is a line. It's kind of picked up some popularity. Look, 2017 Grishuk Carlson. That's pretty new. Mamedyarov Andreikin, Mamedyarov Jabava. So this is where it's at, man. If you're going to play the exchange variation, you got to play bishop g5. But anyway, Tushar, he adroitly avoids the Mamedyarov variation. It's actually played by other guys first, but okay. e3. Now this is always, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of e3, but whatever. So g6, and to be honest with you, I think I talked about this last time, Tushar. I mean, g6 is a really solid line, but I think if you're black and you need to win against low-rated players, you should probably try something else. It's the Schlechter Slav. The Schlechter Slav, I think, is an excellent, solid repertoire, but if I think you need to play something different if you play someone lower rated. Anyway, what would you play though? As I said last time, I think learning the semi-Slav is your best bet. That can be very dynamic, and like other stuff. This is just who would play this. So solid, the most solid option for black. Bishop f5, but of course you can always take. What's that? Like some weird. That's actually inaccurate. All right, so g6. G6. I hate getting an advantage. How do you get an advantage against the Schlechter Slav, though? Bishop g7, bishop e2, castles. Didn't we have the same variation last time, Tushar? You didn't submit the same game again, did you? You did this last time. Is this the same game? Am I losing my mind? Hold on a second. Tushar, this is a different guy, right? You didn't you submit the exact same line last time? I mean, I was talking about how rare this move is, knight on bd7. This is very strange, you know? You just don't normally play that. I know from White's perspective, you know, but I know that knight d7 is not a usual move. Bishop g4, takes on c4. A6 they can always play. That's weird. It looks like people even play b6. I mean, everything's been played except for... Okay, knight bd7, it's not that bad. Man, that's the same thing as last time. Here your opponent played another guy who plays queen c2. Okay, queen c2 makes some sense with the bishop now blocked on c8. I mean, that's the only thing I like about queen c2. The bishop is blocked, and so it can't go to f5, but he's a one-trick pony. That's a Dead Mouse song. Knight on b7, queen c2. I would just go with something more standard like b3. The queen doesn't have a good place to go, though. You know, that's his problem. I mean, his bishop would be more active on d3 and the queen on e2. But players are afraid of bishop g4, so you can't have everything. Yeah, I hate the white side of this opening too. It's just horrible. Okay, so queen c2. There's a Jabava game. Svidler Jabava. I'm sorry, guys. Got to get back there. Man. But just promise me this is not the same game from last subscriber stream. It's not even the same guy, right? Wow. Okay. Isn't this the same game? This is a week ago. Didn't I already go over this game? Tushar, this is looking too familiar. Where is Tushar? Is he here? This is the same game we went over last time, man. But I mean, I know that I went over this game, so this is weird, man. Are you sure you sent me the right game? Because this is the game we went over last time. I was expecting something different. Is Tushar actually here? Alright, I'm going to put this on hold because I really, you know... Am I crazy? This was sent 2 hours ago. Yeah, that's the same game. So, I don't know, man. I'm not going to go over the same game again. Alright, let's go on to the next game. We got a notification from Nefedov. So, I'm not crazy. Well, I mean, I thought, okay, it's possible that he played the same line again. I'm not going to waste my breath. Review last week's game, Tushar. Alright, where am I here? So, Tushar's on hold. We're going to go with Bob's game. Question mark. You really want me to do the same game again? You want to see if it's all just, you know, smoke and mirrors, or if I really say the same thing like a recording 2 weeks in a row? Testing me. You're not going to slip it past me like that, guys. Alright. I can tell I've seen the game before. Bob is here. I've got some lag going on. It just started to kick in. I really highly recommend Comcast. So, correspondence chess. Wait. Okay, Bob is submitting a correspondence chess. It's not really correspondence chess. This is actually a tournament game, most likely, between Anand and Kasparov. Let's take a look. We don't get too many games like this submitted. So Bob submitted a Grandmaster game. We're going to go with Gary's side. just because we like Gary better than Anand, and also as a chess player at least, maybe not as a person, but we like Gary's game better. And secondly, um, he won, So let's look at it from Black's perspective. Vichy is white. It's e4, c5. This is from 1997. Okay, so these guys were basically at their peak, you could say. I mean, Kasparov may have been beyond his peak already, but he was still pretty close. And d6, surprise. Kasparov always plays the Najdorf Scheveningen. When did they play their World Championship match in 95? It was 95 that they played, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of a one-sided match. I don't think Anand won any games, if I recall correctly. There was one interesting thing that Anand did was play the drag. Wait a minute. Somebody played the dragon. Was Anand playing the dragon against Kasparov, or was it the other way around now? I forgot. Must have been Anand playing the dragon. Patrick Wolf was his second for that match in 95, and I remember talking to him about it. But anyway, so it's a Scheveningen. I mean, this is a pretty quiet way to play with white against the Najdorf, folks. Karpov was a big believer in bishop e2. There's nothing wrong with it, It's just a conservative setup. You're going to castle kingside for the most part. So Gary plays e6. He always liked e6 against Karpov as well. I mean, a lot of people believe in e5. It's a totally different style of game, though. I personally think the Scheveningen is hard to play. There are actually two different versions. Z Nation Chess. Oh, you mean bishop g5 against? Yeah. Well, don't play it now because it's late. But yeah, of course. I mean, the main line against the Najdorf. I mean, I think that in modern chess, bishop e3 superseded bishop g5 as the main line. But in former generations, bishop g5, it's still close, but I think that bishop e3 is more popular. So anyway, I don't think that Scheveningen is easy for Black. Kasparov is a huge expert. What are my thoughts on the Najdorf with e5 compared to the Sveshnikov? Well, it's a totally different situation. I mean, in the Sveshnikov, you're playing it in that very concrete situation early on. I think that in all the lines of the Najdorf, you can play e5 or e6. Most lines, choose against bishop. Okay, against bishop g5 and like bishop c4, you pretty much can't play e5. But I think in the let's say in the Sveshnikov, you're more or less just kind of giving up d5 and saying like I'll give you that square and I'll just play around it, And it seems like in the Najdorf, it's not as like black and white. Like you're not like saying I'm going to give you d5 forever. In fact, Black like tries to achieve a later d5 fairly often in the Najdorf. It's like I'll give you that square temporarily, but you've got to keep an eye on the fact that I don't bust out with d5 to equalize or something. Maybe Neji, Neji doesn't like. He just doesn't like playing e5. I personally don't particularly like playing e5 either. It's just a matter of taste. Well, I mean, the first thing here is that Anand plays a4, which I think is not as aggressive as f4. I was just thinking about something weird. This literally never occurred to me, but I was wondering if white could play queen e1 here. I've actually never seen anyone do this, and it's actually a novelty. Sladgie variation. But it's kind of redundant. I mean, you're going to play f4. Obviously, your queen needs squares, But I just thought it would be funny. It's like, I'll do queen e1 and fake him out, and I won't do f4 after that. Oh, I control the e1, a5 diagonal. a4 obviously stops b5. It's a restriction, but I think that it's a commitment. White's now making a commitment to the queen side a little bit. Whereas the other lines scare me more. F4, king h1. Like the little kid played against me. This 11-year-old kid played against me a month ago in the Budapest Spring Festival. What's up, Yellow Dragoon? He just played the full-on kingside stuff. But this is different. We have to make it. I can't just give a class on the Scheveningen, but there's a distinction because like my game was different move order. Kasparov is playing what they call like the modern Scheveningen, I think, where you play a6 and you delay knight c6. In the classical Scheveningen, you play knight c6 first and you don't play a6 just later. So the options are a little different for both sides. I mean, Kasparov could actually play setups with like b5, well, not b5 right away. Yeah, maybe even b5 right away in some cases. So anyway, let's speed it up a little bit here. Classical, back to the classical Scheveningen now. Bishop e3, castles, f4, and then what? Bishop d7, queen c7. Yeah, I played this position a lot. For black in Blitz, and so a few tournament games years ago. And there is a line with rook d8. I used to play this all the time. Anand here played, or Kasparov played the main line with rook e8. But I actually used to play rook d8. I think, I don't know, Adorian may have played this. Let's see. Well, ironically, Zoltan Ribley played it. Maybe Adorian's not high enough rated to be on the list or something. Sam Shanklin busting this out in 2010. This is something I played 25 years ago with black. It's discussed by Kasparov and Nikitin in their book, Sicilian Scheveningen. But, I mean, it's considered, like, not as good as rook e8. So, rook e8, bishop f3. Now, this position is interesting because it seems like in modern games, bishop d3 is played sometimes. But first, you can also play queen e1. I don't know, you know. Bishop f3 is like classical move by Anand. If I'm not mistaken, though, another game with Kasparov, he put the bishop on d3 at a later stage. So rook b8. I probably lost this position against Alonso Zapata years ago with the black pieces. I may have played rook b8 as well. I don't remember. It's possible to take on d4. After knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, and try to play e5. Bishop e3, take on f4. I've had games similar to this with Nefedov. Takes, bishop takes f4, bishop e6. I mean, this is a pretty standard plan for black. I don't know that there's anything wrong with this line, you know. I don't know, maybe Kasparov liked to play with all the pieces without trading anything, but it's sort of dangerous. Also, knight takes d4, queen takes d4 may be possible. Yeah, that's better, I guess. So here, we play e5, he plays queen d2. And this line seems to score okay for white, although there's some recent game. Yakovenko Hari Krishna. It actually doesn't look that bad for black. You know, generally you have less space, you want to trade pieces. Kasparov plays like rook b8 here. But Kasparov is Kasparov, you know, and he's an expert, probably the world's leading expert on this opening at that time in 1997. I would guess, you know, Gary would have been the #1 expert on this opening with the black pieces of anybody in the world. He played these games epic games with Karpov. So, and now knight a5, got a problem with the c4 square. This looks like it's a fairly rare position. And in this sort of situation, it becomes a little bit awkward for black. Like, what's going to happen about that knight on c4? You know, this is not a standard position now. And Kasparov's, you know, maybe Kasparov's move knight a5 isn't that common, but also maybe queen d2 is not that common. The second main move, it looks like g4 is played most commonly. I mean, that's something I've seen Nick DeFermian do against me. I probably played a similar line against DeFermian too, lost. There was some sort of queen, you know, g4, queen g2 type of idea. So knight a5, it looks like rook, what happened? Queen f2, knight c4, bishop c1, and then e5. The knight on c4 is weird. You know, it doesn't know where it's going to go. If you play something like b6, it's going to have to go back to a5 later on, probably. So, very complicated game to submit. But I'm glad we got to take a look at this. So, e5. And the one thing white doesn't want to do is take on e5, because that liberates the bad bishop. Think about it always, guys, like, not just what you're trying to do, and this applies to poker too, but you got to think about what the other guy's trying to do, and not just what you're doing for your pieces, what you're doing for the other guy's pieces. It's like, it's not what you can do for your country. It's what you can do for your pieces. So e5, you don't want to take on e5 because that will liberate the bishop. Knight e2. So far, so good. Kasparov here takes, which is, that feels like a kind of lazy move. But what else to do? You know, this knight is kind of weird on c4. Gary doesn't want the knight to be weird. He wants to have the knight to have a place to go. You know, I think he's securing an outpost for his knight. Classic Scheveningen. We're willing to give up the bishop on d5 or otherwise. So I don't know, probably the first time this position was ever reached was in this game. Is e5 always the intention when playing e6? No. I mean, there are certain situations where you actually have to play like d5. You know, in some situations where you maintain that sort of hedgehog type of thing. But no, it's like you're opportunistic, you know, about the whole thing. You're going to play e5 sometimes, you're going to play d5 sometimes. Sometimes it'll look like a French. Sometimes you'll play e5 later. Sometimes you'll do neither and just play on the queen side. Sometimes you turn into a hippopotamus and play, or, you know, hedgehog, whatever. They're all animals. You'll play like g6, bishop f8, bishop g7, and continue to play in a hedgehog type of formation. It looks like, okay, b3. That's kind of weird. Okay, the knight is just en prise. Knight e5. So what's Anand's idea here? Bishop b2. Gary just improving his pieces a little bit. Rook c1. Now that's never really a good sign when we put the rook on c1. It wouldn't be so bad if we could achieve like c4, but in general we don't really want that rook on c1. Now Kasparov, he's like, okay, my position is solid. I'd like to trade queens if you don't mind. And Anand, you know, he certainly could trade queens, but he decides to go for it. He plays queen g3 and then g6, and I was talking about hedgehog. You know, this is often necessary for black. Often necessary for black here. So, I mean, the thing is, it's tempting to take here, but what's the follow-up? You know, Anand clearly didn't see anything. I would be looking at queen h3. But the classic Najdorf maneuver, I mean, you've got this, which is a very classic Najdorf idea, you know, to play bishop d8. But the more normal is like bishop f8. But it's like walking a tightrope here for black. I mean, one misstep, you know, you'll hang your knight on f6 or something. Giving up the bishop to control d5. I mean, you have a really strong dark square control, and it's just a classic Scheveningen plan, whereas your basic strategic idea, the dream in the Scheveningen, is to just like take off all the pieces and play with a good knight on e5 against the bad bishop on f3 or e2. You know, that's the dream scenario for black. Yeah, trade the white squared bishop and then play a really good knight versus bad bishop type of endgame and have just total domination of e5. So Anand doesn't do it, he does this. At some point he must just go totally haywire. This is kind of a weird move by Kasparov in a way. I mean, to play knight takes f3. It's kind of weird. I mean, it is like a great piece on e5, and the bishop looks like a pawn on f3, so he must have a really good reason for doing this. In general, that's not an exchange I would want to make. Let's see the follow-up. Knight takes f3, g takes f3, and then that's not an automatic move, by the way. There's a massive change in position here. Computer likes it. Anand could have traded more pieces with knight takes e6. So you got to give Anand credit. You know, he didn't play like a pansy. He didn't want to like just draw, you know, by trading pieces. He could have really played like a wilting flower, and just traded the pieces here. But again, he avoided the trade of queens. Now he plays aggressively. So he's clearly going for it. He's played a world championship match against Kasparov, so he's going for it. And then Kasparov gets the queen side moving. But I still think that black is kind of living on the edge anytime you play this opening. B5, AB, AB. Wow, that's ridiculous. There's a game from 2006, some 2200s, repeated this exact game. That's kind of hard to believe. It makes you think, like, did these guys just, like, is this like a made-up game? I mean, really, they played the exact same game as Kasparov and Anand for 26 moves? I mean, that's a little over the top. I mean, it's kind of unlikely, you know, that would happen by accident. They're, like, sitting there with the book, like, okay, let's play this game. No, white won. It wasn't a prearranged draw. That's the chance of that has got to be like 1 in 100,000. Okay, A takes B5, bishop D4, and now queen C6. You never know. It could be a correspondence game. Could have been a correspondence game. Queen C6. This is given a dubious by the computer evaluation. Isn't this game gave the famous reaction by Gary? I don't know. What's the story, Bob? Yeah, I mean, this move looks kind of committal by Kasparov. He's fixing the pawn on c2, but his own pawn can become weak on b4. And Anand has some threats. Knight g3. He's looking for knight f5 maybe. Pretty good game thus far. Kasparov again, you know, he could have apparently played d5, but he didn't want to commit. He wasn't sure. Finally, Anand chops this off, and the resulting position looks level. It really looks about level. Black's king side's a little shaky, but he's got some pressure on the c file. I mean, white doesn't have that many plans, but when you play f4, you better be really, really sure that you're ready for this, because f4 is going to open up the white position as well. This is a very double-edged move again, Anand playing aggressively. Kasparov with e5. Bishop b2. Yeah, Tushar, you submitted your game from last week, which we already analyzed last week. So that's kind of weird. I'm not going to do the same game 2 weeks in a row. Got better things. All right, bishop b2. So this was apparently a mistake, according to the computer. It's awfully normal to put the bishop back on b2, though. So Anand made some sort of oversight. Bishop b2. Still hard to criticize the move. I don't get it. What's wrong with this? This is super awkward for black. Again, I wouldn't be sure I was even equal here with black. It's kind of scary. You have a lot of weaknesses, and your bishop's kind of bad on e7. I wouldn't at all be sure I was even fully equal here with black. Extremely double-edged position. You sent another game in the same thread, Tushar. I will check. All right. We'll check that next. So this was a long game to analyze. f5. Man, and you look like, and you think like, wow. Hard to judge. I mean, it looks like white's better. I mean, black has a bad bishop. But this bishop's also hemmed in. You know, so this is crazy judgment. Kasparov with g5, just closing up the king side. Anand must have underestimated this, you know, and I think that it's understandable. I mean, this looks weird. It looks like black's king is actually in more danger, and he's putting his pawns on the wrong color. So Anand may have been a little optimistic here, and possibly like slightly misevaluated. But suddenly Kasparov is starting to build pressure on this pawn, and somehow his king is safe on g8. And now he's just tripling up. He doesn't even do it. So he could have tripled up with like rook c8. King f7 is a crazy move. Not a crazy move, but a crazy good move. Putting the king in a safer location. Denying any threats along the g file. Kasparov finally got control of the game. But I have to admit it was a weird situation. I mean, it looked like f5 was strong, and then all of a sudden, like, Anand has nothing. Here, bishop e3, rook c3, bishop d2, and he just starts to fall apart. Rook takes c2, bishop takes b4. Now, I guess Anand's structure is just weak. This pawn, all the pawns, the key pawns are weak. The bases of his pawn chain. Although still, like, a computer might have held on here. Queen takes e2. What else can he play? I mean, I don't know. h5. Again, you know, this is the kind of move where Gary doesn't miss his opportunity. h5 is a forcing move, very strong. And then I guess it just all falls apart here. I mean, this is time pressure. This is like move 39 of a 40 move time control. So Anand probably with his flag hanging here, I would assume. He could have held on with rook e1 according to the engine, which is a natural move, defending. He just goes crazy, and it's like a one-move blunder. He must have miscalculated something here. He thought he had queen f3, so he missed g4. He might have even seen that, more than likely. Then there's a follow-up here, what, g3? Apparently there's like 3 strong moves for black in this position. I would have played g3, but that's like the 3rd best move according to the computer. So he's just annihilated. Rook h8 is like crushing. Yeah. So it was kind of time pressure. Weird game. I mean, it didn't seem like Kasparov like dominated Anand. And Anand was in fact like playing aggressively. I would say playing for the win. And he just kind of, I think the key moment was when like Anand played f5 and then he misevaluated what was happening when Kasparov closed the position with g5, g6, g5. It looks like good for white somehow, but it's not. It was that judging that position was really, really hard. Okay, Tushar said he put the same game in the same thread. Maybe I missed it. Let's take a look. Yeah, I probably just didn't go down enough. Duh. Starting point of series of humiliating games against this guy, which made me think of quitting chess. The opponent is 2,300 FIDE-ish. Alright, let's take a look, guys. So, well, don't think of quitting chess, man. I mean, you gotta be tough, and you're gonna have setbacks. Sorry, Tushar, I didn't realize there was further games in the study. So we're gonna take a look at this game with you here live. Thanks for the submission, Bob. Interesting game. I always like a little Skaveningen. Not an easy opening to play, though. So let's get this up. Great game, Bob. So this is a subscriber stream, guys. I'm going over submitted games from the subscribers on the Twitch stream. I'm not going to play too many Blitz games, maybe 1 or 2. Alrighty, so it's a 3+2 Blitz game. Nurmi, brah. Alright, well, anyway. Definitely don't Tushar take it too seriously when you lose a Blitz game, you know, against the guy who's 500 points higher rated. Let's see what happened. So, Tushar, I know you've been playing the black side of the Marshall. I was wondering how that was working out for you. After bishop a4, knight f6, unfortunately, the opponent doesn't cooperate here. Once people realize you play the Marshall, you're going to start seeing a lot more of this type of stuff. And I also think that these sort of systems are more popular now as a kind of all-inclusive approach for white. It also, by playing d3, we can avoid things like the Berlin. To be honest with you, Tushar, I mean, if those are the ratings, you're supposed to lose 5 games in a row. You know, if someone's 500 rating points higher, they're supposed to really win like 90% of the games. So don't take it too hard. You know, when you lose to a guy who's really strong, it's supposed to be that way until you just get stronger. It'll take time. Okay, d3, b, but don't think about quitting chess and stuff like that. So you played b5. It's not the only approach. I like d6. You can play d6 and you can play like g6 and play a sort of, let's say, like c3 bishop d7 or g6. If you like g6, I like the kingside fianchetto. I think it's pretty solid for black. But I guess you can also play bishop d7 here. It looks like it has a dead even score. This is very solid for black with the intention of playing g6. So that's one way to play. I mean, there's different schools of thought about how to play, you know? I mean, maybe Knightage would play like c4 here for white. I don't know. That's different, but... Move 11. Are you in the house with your Knightage, Simul? From last week. That was last week. But there are different setups here. You know, you can play bishop c5, apparently. Get the bishop outside the pawn chain. That's another line. There's b5. And I always think, okay, just keep in mind when you play b5 that, you are slightly weakening your queen side. Just be aware. So, but I think if you play, normally b5 type of setups, this is okay. Here he plays castles, and then what? Okay, so no a4. A4 would be like the most aggressive there. Just this. Svidler, Svidler I see as a name there. Svidler advocating what, like d3. He did a video series about d3. I guess, but I'm thinking it was more like against the Berlin. I don't know about the main line though. Has anybody seen the Svidler video series on the white side of the Roy Lopez playing d3? Is that specifically on the Berlin, or is he done more videos on main lines like this? The Robin Gambit. Welcome everyone. We've got a subscriber stream. I'm going over games with the guys who subscribe to my Twitch stream. So d5, okay. Now, this move, well, let me see now. Are we... Did you... What is this? I mean, if Wade plays knight on bd2... I mean, he could run into... He could actually transpose to, like, a Marshall Gambit declined, couldn't he? Is this gonna, like, transpose to a declined Marshall Gambit after knight on bd2? That's what the guy did? Look at this. How many people have played d5 here, man? Yeah, you can't force a Marshall. This is something you should know. You can't force a Marshall blindly against everything. The position is slightly different. I'm not an authority, and I'm certainly not an authority with black. But I'm thinking after knight on bd2, he's like kind of not testing you. Look how few games have actually been played here with d5. Do not trust this number on the screen, because this engine that I'm using, my CPU is not that fast, so please don't make any like judgments based on what my Stockfish says. I definitely take it with a grain of salt. It's just blunder checking, but I mean, you're supposed to play not d5. I mean, you're supposed to play like d6 and just play a normal closed type of line. I mean, it's not that dangerous for black. He hasn't played d4. You should be okay. I think it's still dangerous against very strong players, but in general, I don't know. But let's take a look. I mean, let's see. I'm surprised, though. Anytime you see so few games, it should be a kind of... It should be a red flag, really, basically. If only 5 players have played d5 here, that's scary. And the critical continuation has to be pawn takes pawn. There's like no games. It's ridiculous. Like one Stefan Juric game from 2014. This is strange. I mean, why is this position so rare, actually? I mean, the first thing to note is this position, when we think about it, how the majority of players here would black play castle, or sorry, d6 instead of castles. But objectively, I really don't think that should matter, you know? But look at the difference. I mean, 1,690 games where black played d6, yet, you know, what, 645 with castles. It's hard to understand. How to approach an opponent who is like 500 points above your rating? Well, it depends if you're being, you know, results oriented or you just want to play and learn and get better, you know? I think if you're just trying to get better, you should make no adjustment. Just play your best game, you know? If you're being results oriented or it's an important, you know, it's important the result, you might want to play let's say a little more conservatively, but not to the point where you play passively. But I would say just play your normal game, you know. Try not, and make sure, and just be aware, by the way, if you're playing a stronger player, try to be on the lookout for changing the way, you know, subconsciously changing the way that you play, you know. Be on the lookout for like signs that you're actually playing more passive than usual or being afraid, and trying to like just not do that, you know. So, but I don't understand why so few games are played with this order of moves, to be honest. And c3 is very, very rare here. You see, the big question is, Nurmi Bra, why did he play c3 here, per se? I would have probably played a4, but that's just me, you know. The reason for c3, can someone tell me? Um, it's to take away the knight a5. I mean, this is why we play c3 for the most part. We want to make sure we don't lose our bishop. If you play d6, you see, that maybe explains the reason why d6 is more popular than castles. Because if d6, black's got this little trick, like he's threatening knight a5, and if a beginner is like rook e1, okay, surprise, you know, we're like almost equal here. Bishop d2. This looks familiar. No, nobody special. So that's the point, you know, it's like a trick. But okay, on d6, what does everyone play? They play c3 or a4 or a3, you know, any kind of move that gives the bishop a square. H3, for example, knight a5. Everybody played knight a5. Come on. This is awfully familiar to me. Bartel versus Martel. Bartel versus Sargsyan. I mean, what is this? When like a 2600 feels like a quick draw? Why would we want to give up our bishop on b3? You know, that's pretty weird. So anyway, all right. So castles, you go here. He plays c3. Play d6. No. So you should play d6 and he goes there. But let's investigate. You know, pawn takes pawn, knight takes rook e1, and this is like, what is this? It's not a marshal, but what is it actually? It's a pseudo marshal. There must be transpositions. There's actually a Ponomarev Anand game from 2007. Wow. Spassky against Zhuzha Polgar. Critical contest for opening theory. Yeah, it looks like bishop b7. I have the vague feeling like I've seen this before. My friend Vinicius Mark. Let's see. Vinicius. I don't know. You can try to force the marshal like this. This is interesting, dude. This is way Vinicius would play it. So we got a transposition in our games here. There's a Kazgaleyev game. There's a Sophie Millier game. A Vinicius game. I won't say the other. I won't say it. and I won't run tournaments with a quote. Bishop f6. This is not bad, Tushar, if you want to play in the spirit of the martial. Probably playable. Anyways, okay, so d5. Yeah, but this looks like a martial decline now. It seems like this should be fine for black. How should you play it? Like d4, though? To bust out my book on this is in Budapest. What should you do now? That's the $1 million question. You know, you're going to see a lot of people who get the marshal, then they do something lame to, like, decline it. The white rook would be on e1, right? In the marshal. So, what feels right here? Like, bishop b7, I think. This is Morozevich versus Bacro. Something like this. What did you do? So this is weird. You know, bishop g4 is weird. Because, and we actually had a game like this once, I think. You know, the weak squares over on the queen side are all on the white squares. He can open you up with like a4. And he's got the knight on d2 guarding that knight. I mean, this pin doesn't seem like a big deal. And you don't want to trade your bishop, and you don't want it on h5. So I think this is a formative mistake. I mean, if you really feel like being lame, you could play pawn takes pawn, but I can't really. Oh, there's a Neji game from 2006. I can't really recommend this move. It feels wrong in principle. I would say bishop b7, or maybe even d4. Victor Mikhайловsky was 2670. That has to be a US. That's a USCF rating or something. That must be his American rating. So, some tournament played in the US of A where Mikhайловsky has a US chess rating. I don't think that Victor was that high. It's not likely. But anyway, so I think that bishop g4 is weird. You know, that's a mistake. And I guess the computer pointed that out. You know, your bishop is out of play here. If this guy's really, really good, he can exploit the fact that bishop is kind of out of the game. He can open you up on the queen side. Lots of weaknesses over here. And this is another positional mistake, I think. Trading on e4. Giving up a strong pawn on d5. I realized you had to do something, though. So white's just slightly better. Now you're possibly in danger of losing this pawn on e5. I don't know. You know, g4 is on the agenda, but we start to think about that, right? Damn, the computer says you can sacrifice a piece here. I mean, Nefedov might have gone for g4. I don't know about you guys. But that's apparently a mistake. So he just plays real solid. Now g4 is also possible. He still doesn't pull the trigger on it. So apparently he should have played it now. And it feels like you should try to sack a piece. Because I don't like bishop g6, knight takes e5 particularly. You probably have to do this. And it doesn't look particularly sound. So I think you're just in a lot of trouble. After trying to do this, yeah, you just went with a bad plan. And now white's just not playing g4. So he lets you get away with it. And now you could have gone like knight d7 or maybe queen c7. And it turns into like one of your weird Spanish lines that you played against me. Some bishop g4. But I think the truth is here that you're not that bad anymore. But you're going to have to watch out for this classic Alekhine kind of d5 control. Knight c4 is not developing pieces, but you have to do something. I'm a big fan of developing pieces. Maybe rook d8, maybe rook e8. You know, new pieces. You're just moving the same piece twice here with knight c4. He busts you. You see where that bishop would really be helpful on b7 right about now? Kind of shoring up all the white squares. Yeah, this is starting to look kind of sketchy. This guy is pretty strong, pretty legit. Knight g3, and then Yeah, after that, it's just the disaster. I mean, this is like a bad King's Indian attack now. He's just owning you. Knight g3. Bishop g6 is arguably an option. You decided to keep it simple and take here. I think now white has a massive advantage strategically. The white squares are weak across the board. Let's see, though. Maybe you can hold it together. This was a good idea, but can you maintain it? I mean, not really, right? You're going to have to pull it back out. This is kind of weird. Queen e2, knight f5, very strong piece. And so bishop g5 is going to come in next. It wouldn't be the end of the world to allow knight takes e7 check. Looks like you should play knight d6. Is this gonna hold the b5 pawn? You challenge his knight. I think this is your best bet to hold on. But when his knight remains there unopposed, you know, it's very strong. Now you actually lose a pawn. Now he does bishop g5. Wow. He's the master of everything. This guy is strong, though. You got to give him credit. And I never would have played knight takes d6. Well, I guess it just wins a pawn, though. Maybe I would. Yeah, I guess he has to. He has to win this pawn. What a materialist. Yeah, really nice game. And I mean, now you're just busted. I mean, obviously you should take back here. I don't know why you played a5, because that's like suicide, but it could have been a mouse slip. All right. So, let's move on. What is up? We've got subscriber games. Let's play a blitz game here if we've got a subscriber challenge. I don't know. I'm not going to just play the random guys today. Nefedov. We're playing Nefedov. He is a subscriber. Pilot 100 is challenging me. That is a different story. That's a rated correspondence game. I'm not going to play it. Pilot 100, if you're watching, I will play correspondence games, but only 5 days or longer. So I do not accept 3, 2, 1 correspondence games. So these guys are not subscribers. I'm going to take the challenge from Nefedov. Can you summarize this game? Yeah, don't try to force the Marshall Gambit. And don't try to play bishop g4 when white doesn't play d4, I guess. Okay, so e4. Mr. Nefedov white again. Let's try some kind of Scandinavian that I don't normally play. Another mistake that you made, Tushar, was exchanging on e4. I mean, I think that's a very fundamental mistake. There's some question about how bad a mistake it was right in that moment, but generally speaking, you don't want to do that, even if it means sacrificing the e5 pawn Marshall style. You know, you ended up playing bishop g4. You should have played bishop b7. The bishop's much stronger on that square. And I'm no authority in the Marshall for black, definitely, and not really with white either, but I do have to play against it sometimes. So I was expecting Nefedov to play, you know, knight c3. I don't really ever play the queen takes d5 Scandinavian very often, so he played d4. This is, well, not that common, right? I'm supposed to play e5, I think, in this position. No? Or am I supposed to play knight c6? My bad. Maybe I should have played knight c6. I can't remember. Is this bad? It can't be bad. Now we have the option to not take the pawn back. Play it like a man. Where is the pony emote? I love the pony emote. We only have so many emotes, I guess. Maybe when I'm a partner, when you guys help me get up to 75 average viewers, we'll add a pony emote. I don't think that knight f6 is better than queen takes d5 Tushar. I used to play it a lot because of its trickiness and lack of people knowing it. But when I told this story before, a couple of years ago when I played in the European Poker Tour in Prague, I ran into this guy Konstantin Maslak, who was like an authority or was one of the strongest players who played the knight f6 Scandinavian, and he switched to poker too. And basically, I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Hey, you're one of the guys who I used to see a lot of games in the knight f6 Scandinavian. What do you think about that?" You know, he was kind of like, "Yeah, I had to stop playing that because you know just everybody knows it, so it just lost all of its value." Um, so king takes d1. I'm gonna go after this pawn, attacking pawn. No, I think we have over 30 subscribers now. It's pretty cool. Not bad. We are knight c6. +100. Knight c6. You know, I mean, the thing was, I could have taken with the queen on e5, I guess. You know, if you really are materialistic. But I feel like they're white. You know, this actually looks like some kind of weird old Morphy game or something. Queen takes e5 check, bishop e2. This is a different position, though. There was a game between Anderson and Morphy, which, well, actually, Morphy and Anderson from their match. So Nefyedov, what I don't want to do is just like blindly trade pieces. We want to try to create some threats against him. But I think we'll always have compensation. I mean, you just have to have faith in Black's position here. And sometimes faith is not enough. Like a very similar position in the Scandinavian once I got against Mark Blochstein and in a GM tournament, and I was like, oh my god, he let me play this kind of gambit thing and I'm great, you know, and then next thing I know, he hangs on and I like lose an ending or something. I mean, does knight c6 allow the bishop e5 pin? No, I mean, I always have stuff. But he's also got a lot of white square weaknesses. So even if I had to play like bishop d7, would that be bad for black? That's the question, maybe. But I don't really see another move there. I mean, if you have another suggestion other than knight c6, that's the only move that feels right. Maybe bishop c5 or something like that. Just feels right. I'm not that concerned about bishop e5. I have bishop d7. We'll see after the game. I have no idea about the theory here. I'm ready to play f6. And I was just working on some lines of the Nimzovich with one of my students today. And this reminds me of those Nimzovich positions. We saw a lot of lines where actually white plays bishop e5 in the Nimzovich and then gives up the bishop, and there's all these white square weaknesses all over the place. I mean, that looks like what could happen here. Especially after f4, obviously. But you may be right. Like, bishop e5, it's very possible that's a better move than f4. It's certainly not as weakening. You can gift a subscription, tantamount to subbing twice. Wonder that in today's world, if there is not a subscriber in 2 accents. 2 accounts? Is that what you meant? Friday, I'm loving your USA streams. Frankly, I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought you said Friday. Well, tomorrow's Friday, so. Frankly. So f4. Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to do like maybe once a week where we'll do something in the morning to make it like earlier for the guys like you and for the European guys. But right now I'm going to keep it like it is for a week or so more. Auto mod. Auto mod is here. Now the white squares I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about. Family of white squares. Now bishop e5. He's got to stop, you know, he wants to stop these things. And it's understandable. Check. Where does it go, Mr. King? Well, I think that f6 looks good. We got to do it at some point. I mean, I might have knight h6. But I kind of wished, you know, if I was going to play for knight h6, I'd rather do it once my bishop wasn't on f5, when my bishop wasn't on f5 yet. If I do like that, he might have h3 and g4. Plus f6, I want to be able to take back with the knight. Castle would check, a good move. I'm on the fence about it because I feel like his king is actually pretty bad. But one of my catchphrases is you know, the threat is stronger than the execution. So we like to hold these things in reserve for as long as possible. I don't see anything real convincing about castling, but I probably would do it soon. Right, I mean, but I don't see the crushing follow-up, you know, that's my problem. You probably can't go wrong with it, though. I mean, okay, fine. My intention was to castle queenside. I was never really seriously intending to castle kingside. Just a question of when, not really if. Now, we've got Nefedov, I think, in a kind of alien situation. You know, he's not real comfortable here. Again, he still has bishop b5 ideas. I can meet that with 97 in many instances. And he'll miss that bishop in other aspects. There's also... this move can be met by like 92, so we want to keep developing, and capture on e5 is possible. There's no room for mistakes here because I'm a pawn down, you know. I mean, you might just be able to directly win this pawn with just ganging up on the e-file. But I want to be careful not to misplay the position and give up my advantage, or whatever you want to call it. My dynamic initiative. But is there anything better than just trying to get this pawn back with like rook e8 here? I'm very, very concerned about maybe rook e8, bishop f4, bishop d6, bishop b5 in between move. And then if c6, he might have castles there. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. It would still be awkward, though. When he castles, it's going to get kind of awkward. He's not gonna be allowed to castle. He's not allowed to castle. Who caught me? You know, I had a game like a couple of months ago where I thought I couldn't castle, but I could, and I lost. I just like resigned. We just totally forgot it could castle. He can't castle. But the other possibility is just rounding up the pawn more naturally with, say, like knight e7, knight d2, knight g6, knight f3. But that doesn't look too impressive, does it? There's another option here, g5, but I don't really see how it works. I guess I could have played knight f6, come to think of it. Man, that might have been a good move. Knight f6, in your face. Threatening like what? Knight h5, knight h5, knight g4. Various things. Rook e8, like moving the same piece twice, may have been a fundamental mistake. It may have been a very important mistake. I wasted a tempo, you might say. We equalized, but I'm afraid it, you know, it's almost too equal. Equalizing a little too much here. I think that this is a good move overall. Because if I don't, he might be able to connect his rooks more easily. Now, I don't know. Let's be open-minded. Rook a5 looks kind of awkward. Are we better here, or is it just equal? We're a little better. We're one dimension ahead in development. Now we're 2 dimensions. 2 dimensions ahead. Was this even a good move? Did he have knight d4 there? Maybe. c5? Knight h4? Hell with it. To hell with it. I don't want your knight on d4, man. You could have played that last move. I was a little concerned. Let's not and say we did. That's okay. That's okay. It's all good. I like the knight on the side of the board. It's a nice decoration. There's also bishop e2, strangely enough. Oh. Oh, I'm like Mr. Bean. Got the Mr. Bean laugh. There's no way. He's like taunting me with the draw offer. Oh, look at that. Man, that's craziness. We're all over him now. And this looks very strong for me. Doesn't seem to be an immediate crush. This may have been an inaccuracy. I don't know. We're all over him strategically with these active pieces, but he found this weird move. King f2, just an absolutely crazy move. Man. Very bad endgame for him. Our pawns are faster. They're also connected. What happened? Yeah, really good effort by Nefedov, but I don't think that endgame can be held. Probably lost. The endgame's probably just lost. I don't think I played that well, but the opening I'm more interested in. So e5. The jury is out on these two moves, e5 and knight c6, I guess. Knight c6 is more of the main line. But this is a risky decision to play pawn takes e5, Nefedov. It looks like knight c3. It's computer's preference. That involves a pawn sacrifice. Looks like it's not very well known. I guess after bishop b4 is Oli Varga. Knight f3 is main line. Alright, let's take a look though, quickly. D takes e5. There's an Istrachescu game I saw. Movsesian against Istrachescu. Yeah, you gotta be a chicken. If you play queen takes e5 check here, you're a chicken. You know, you're officially a foul. I mean, you gotta go for it here with black, with queen takes d1 check. King takes d1. So knight c6 is universally played. Lots of creative guys. Istrachescu, Granda Zuniga, Rouses. And then, let's see. So bishop b5 is recommended. That's an interesting move. You know. Apparently I can play a lot of different moves here. Wow. Even bishop d7, which hasn't been played, that was like my first idea. You know, even that's good for black. So, that's not a problem. Nefedov played f4, but f4 is kind of risky. And what else should he play, though? Just not easy to play. He tries to keep the pawn. You can play f6 right away. That's the computer's first reaction. I played bishop f5. We're playing De Fermian against Granda Zuniga. Nice. c3. Castle's queenside now. So my f6 is actually a novelty. It looks like. But it's strong. Novelty with f6. How do you get strong in a particular opening? Well, there are lots of resources. I mean, I really think that there's many specialty books. I don't think that videos are enough. You know, I think you really need like physical textbooks that are, if you want to get serious, get the books. You know, the serious opening books, which still are very much part. I mean, you can buy like opening books probably on, you know, or get them in like, you know, what do you call it, like online, or, you know, whatever. You don't need physical books. You can get them on the computer. But yeah, this is not an easy position for white. I don't like it, man. You know, this is hard to play. So anyway, let's go back to the subscriber games. I was going to do the Jacob game next. Our game with Jacob. Not our game with, but his game. I've got some massive lag. Let's turn this engine off. Okay. Instructive game, though. Thanks for that, Nefedov. I think it was a good test for you, and for me, some practice. So JCS gives us a King's Indian Fianchetto variation. Guys, let's check the stream. How many viewers do we have today? It's usually a little lighter on subscriber streams. You know, this is really not meant as anything more than, you know, just a way of giving back to my subscribers. But I have a lot of viewers today. It's actually 94. Just so you guys know that are viewing, you know, this is a special stream that I do once a week to kind of thank and reward the subscribers for subscribing on Twitch. We're up to 94. This time has been working better because I usually was streaming like an hour later many times, and oftentimes in the morning, like crazy time. So we can get people to watch from both North America, Europe, and even in Tushar's case, um, western parts of like Asia. So this is JCS, one of our subscribers, playing the white pieces here. He also beat me. He also beat me in a simul with this Fianchetto King's Indian not that long ago. A very good game. So we see c4, g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2. And one player who I haven't seen lately here is Ananas. He's in Germany. So I don't know if the stream time is good for him. Well, welcome from Australia. We've only rarely had some Australian, New Zealand viewers. Not as many as other places, so thank you for joining us. Okay, I know that it's pretty late out there, so bishop g2. In my previous time, when I was doing 10 a.m. streams like in Europe, then we would get some Australian, New Zealand guys, but with this time I wouldn't expect it. So d6. This is actually an interesting move order by white, because there's the classical kind of setups in the Fianchetto King's Indian where you put the knight in f3, but at the same time you have some other options where you do like maybe e4 and knight e2, or e3 and knight e2. So where I don't think there's a lot of downsides to white's move order with the early knight c3, and I think it's more upsides. Upside your head. Yeah, so it's actually morning there. I'm thinking it's like late, but it's actually early. Lost track of my Australian time zones. Castles. Last night I watched Australia's Deadliest Animals on like the Animal Planet. Made me want to really go down there and revisit. All right, knight f3, knight c6, and it's a pano, so he's playing knight f3 here. But my argument before was that you have additional options to play e4 and e3. If you want to investigate those, take care, Tushar. If you want to investigate those options with e4, JCS, I think it would add dimension to your game. Like, you could actually play. They say that Gashimov used to play like 4 different variations and everything that he played, like the Benoni. You could add like a couple more dimensions to your approach with white if you have several different systems with e4, e3, knight e2. But you're transposing back to main line. And against you, I played like c6 and bishop f5. You seem to handle that pretty well. But knight c6 is this. Let's take a look at statistics. But I think this is like the number one move now. It is the number one move statistically. You got 4,000 games, 4,700. Traditionally speaking, if I go back 20 years, this would be like flip-flopped, and like knight on bd7 would still slightly outnumber knight c6, I think. But modern theory has been leaning more and more toward knight c6 rather than knight on bd7. And I think that knight on bd7 is a King's Indian that's very classical type of setup, which has trended downward in all the lines of the King's Indian more and more in the last 25, 30 years since I've been playing chess, because it blocks the bishop on c6. That's the main drawback. One of the guys that I work with today, who's a relative amateur, was talking about how he felt uncomfortable because his bishop was blocked on c8. I said, yeah, man, that's welcome to the King's Indian with the knight on bd7. That's why in many mainline King's Indians, black actually goes knight a6 fairly early. But not a system that's regarded as very reliable. I actually did this against Latko Olincic once. I think I played c6, castles, and knight a6. This is a very rare line that I think that actually Alexei Shirov has played. Let's see who else has done this. Yeah, Hubner, Shirov, 1997. But Bologan has played it a couple times with bad results. That's not good. That's not a good sign. Like, Bologan lost to Grabarczyk, who's like 150 points lower, and he lost against Antunes, but that was a much older game. Yep. Bologan's a King's Indian expert. He's actually written at least a couple books, I think, on the King's Indian, or definitely at least one. Regarded as a major expert, especially in knight c6, ironically. So if you study the King's Indian, Bologan is a household name. Castles, now a6, and you played b3. b3 is not the main line. The main line is d5. And the computer statistics, the opening encyclopedia is disagreeing with me. It's saying that h3 is the main line. I'm a little surprised by that. Wow. I actually faced queen d3, I think, in a game. I don't know knight c6 that well, but I played it in a couple of games, and I think I faced queen d3, a specialty move. But I'm surprised that h3 is actually more popular than d5. These variations are hard to play for both sides, I believe. You know, d5, knight a5, knight d2, c5. Most typically, this is kind of like the main variation of the Pano, I think. King's Indian with g3. But hard for both sides. Massive positional struggles, like on across the whole board. Karpov, Shirov, probably early 90s. Anyways, so it looks like JCS plays a safe move here, b3. And this actually scores pretty well. I'm trying to think. You know, I might have actually played h3 myself in a game. I lost against Stephen Muhammad, like probably 15 years ago. I tried to play a setup with like h3, bishop e3, and rook c1, if I remember correctly. And I ended up losing because I didn't know it that well. So there are options with this h3. Like, you don't have to commit yourself to playing d5. But anyways, so b3 is like a safe move. Rook b8. And now, yeah, I've seen this before. This is something of a positional line by white. Speaking of Bulagan, he definitely analyzes this in his book on the King's Indian. I think e6 was the main. For some reason, I'm pretty sure it's e6 is the main line. Here's a game Boo against Bulagan from 2008. But let's see knight h5. That's apparently a move, trying to take advantage of the knight on d5. And this goes back to Anatoly Karpov-Shirov. Speaking of Karpov-Shirov, 99 though. That's a relatively late Karpov game. That has to be like the end of Karpov's official career. That's extremely late in the game for Karpov. So, okay, knight d5, very safe variation. You're hoping that black takes on d5, but he's not going to cooperate. Plays e6, knight takes e6, f6, excuse me. So this is the Boo Bologan game that I was just talking about. Everybody has a horizon for how far they know the theory. I probably wouldn't remember beyond this. I never really intended to play this variation, though, with either color, so I'm not supposed to be an expert in this position. I've just seen this line and played one game with Stephen Muhammad in h3, but totally different variation. I honestly wouldn't really know unless I memorized the theory, but it seems more logical to take with the queen, because if you take with the queen, you can take with the queen, and then, okay, the queen's misplaced, you can put it back on e7, and then argue that maybe you've made progress, you've developed a piece, you've mobilized your forces a little bit. Whereas the bishop takes feels like you're not doing anything constructive for sure. There's a problem, though. I mean, queen takes bishop g5, you have to be careful. I mean, everything hinges on this weird queen f5 move. A Stockfish favorite, by the way. Stockfish just really loves putting its queen on like c5, c4, f4, and f5. Squares, I was talking about this recently, squares that are not commonly really like known as squares that are typically placed, you know, places for the queen to go, because they're kind of central and it can be exposed there. That's provocative. Very provocative. But it turns out that bishop b2 is actually more commonly played and maybe the better move. Anyways, okay, bishop takes f6. And here you played bishop h6, which is debatable because, well, you know, maybe we have to be careful here. I don't know. You'd have to subject this position to pretty deep analysis to decide a conclusion on whether, you know, bishop h6 or bishop b2 is better. It looks like both have been played. Both are reasonable moves. My gut instinct is to play bishop b2 because we weakened ourselves on this diagonal and we want to counter the bishop on f6. And I think the other thing is, like, when you go bishop h6, I mean, you know, he plays rook e8 and it's not that obvious, you know, that this bishop is really going to do anything to black, whereas you're actually kind of forcing him to make a constructive move with his rook. So that's the question. So bishop h6, rook e8, rook c1. JCS with the... Where was this game played, by the way? 8 hours ago. 3-0 blitz? Wow, dude. Have I ever been to jail? I've been to jail, but I've never been in jail. If that makes any sense. I wanted to call you Mubat. Bob, I've actually been to jail, but not been in jail. Well, I've been in the jail, but I've never, like, been sent to jail. It's a strange question to ask. But I was in a class on psychology of architecture, which is a very strange... It's a very strange story, but we went to a jail in Boston to study jail architecture, oddly enough. Anyway, rook c1, main line, bishop d7. That feels like the kind of move that, like, you make that you don't know what to do. This is a Bologan maneuver, by the way, knight e7. He's big on that. That's a big move for Bologan. Not been played though. It looks like everyone has played e5 here, across the board. Very, very Bologani, but he does have a good book on the King's Indian, and I don't have any, you know, I'm not getting any royalties for promoting it. What's up, Cliff? Bishop d7. This is the line that took out Justice Bot. Well, I mean, I guess White has some sort of space advantage here. If you take on e5, this is probably good for White. You know, take. You have to take with the pawn. And then it just ends up being black is backward along the c-file. So this may turn out to be a very significant mistake. Like, he's supposed to play e5, and then you have to make a decision. If you take, it's like nothing, and if d5, black has a choice to go either to d4 or e7 even. So strangely enough, black makes a tiny slip, and JCS just punishes him. Wow. d5. Really well played up to this point. And I think 95 was a KG response, not trading. Now he takes on e5. You don't really want to trade pieces here, Jacob, but what are your alternatives? You know, that's the thing. I mean, can we do something like 92? We've got a problem. You see, that bishop on h6 could get trapped even. It's just getting trapped, isn't it? So we don't have any funky stuff with, like, knight to d2 because of knight g4. Uh-oh. Big problem. That starts to look pretty dubious, you know, so what's the other option to go to d4? I was thinking it's the same type of thing, you know, knight g4, and then it seems like black's problems are basically solved. So JCS here, knight takes e5, also the best decision, and he's just better. It's not a big advantage. It's a very stable little advantage for White. Perfectly played so far. Camel Clutcher. Cliff's not used to my U.S. schedule. I'm an hour. Well, let's see. Today's Thursday. I'm an hour earlier than I would have been if I was streaming from Europe. It would have been. Does that make sense? It would have been no. That doesn't make sense, does it? What am I talking about? Yeah. No. No. That doesn't make any sense. Never mind. Just ignore me. We are streaming most days at 4 p.m. EDT. I want to say European time. Okay, I think here, maybe sort of white got carried away with f4. I don't know, though. Your advantage is small. I would have made this tight move like queen d2. But it's really an itty-bitty advantage for white. Just got some pressure. He'll take here. Roman Gigi-Ash, really, my former mentor at one point, used to like to play the fianchetto system, and he would play real safe sort of setups that get positions like this. Maybe we'll take on e6 and just have this bishop attacking and a little bit better structure, but it's not much. Yeah. So he plays this. Okay, black has to be careful. Bishop b2 is weird. I would be on the safe side with something like bishop h8 probably. Even bishop g7 trading the guys. How bad is it? I mean, this seriously seems like the safest approach. Although this endgame could be slightly unpleasant. How bad is this endgame? Let's say here for black. We're going to bust out like the g5 and go crazy. We're going to walk away and just try to defend here. This is a pretty unpleasant situation, though. This could seriously be quite difficult or problematic for black, in a very simple situation. But anyways, finishing up this game, white weakened himself a little bit with f4. Bishop b2, rook c2. Bishop h8, okay. And then e4. Very natural move. But it looks like the bishops might have just got out of control. He could have a second bishop showing up here at any moment on one of these diagonals. So the million-dollar question, I've used that phrase a lot lately, have we overextended ourselves too much? And the answer is, I don't know. We'll check with Ancient Aliens. But we're on the verge of overextending now with white. It's a very, very close call. I wouldn't mind losing a dark-squared bishop, exchange to the dark-squared bishop right about now for white, but I don't want to lose my bishop to the white square. I don't want to lose a rook to the white squared bishop. That's for sure. So he plays f5. He's out of his mind. Okay, this is just nuts. Like, your king is already in a kind of nasty place, and you're playing f5? That's definitely mental. It's not a move I would have considered, I think that's really, really pushing the envelope. f5 is really crazy. I would be, very thankful that my king has just enough protection, thank you very much, right now. What about taking on d5? I think I have something wrong here with the position. It's white's play. Okay, e4. So he takes d5. See, the thing is, I was thinking about, okay, yes, this, but is bishop b5 a problem? Maybe it's nothing, huh? I guess this is nothing. You can just lift a rook. Another rook. So, black would have to be very cagey here. Apparently c5, and he's okay, but it's like the only move. And then judging this sort of position is really like you'd have to be a dragon player. Knowing that you're active enough, even though you have a bad structure on d6. He had to play like perfectly. Basically perfectly. So f5 looks crazy to me, though. This is his first mistake and not his last mistake. Take. Okay. Yeah, now he has to take back with a pawn so as not to get immediately annihilated. Oh. Well, I mean, he didn't see this was fatal, but it is. So what do you just play? Bishop check, take, and then pin him again? It's over. Yeah, it's crushing. Oh, man. But f5 was a bad idea. And this recapture was a worse idea. So he's still hanging on, although I don't envy Black's situation here. Yeah, this is over. This was like a great game by White. I mean, I'm surprised you have 3 mistakes. It doesn't seem like you made that many mistakes. It was basically merciless. Although there, can't you just take? Maybe I miscalculated something. I thought this was winning. Wow, that's weird. I didn't see Queen f6. This is the kind of blunder I would make in a blitz game. I would have been like, oh my god, Queen f6. Because if you don't see Queen f6, you're like Queen d7, King f7. This move saves Black here. Actually, JCS is lucky he didn't have the hallucination I did, you know, and failed to calculate that. Apparently f5 is strong, but... Wow. So good call. You played rook e2. You missed f5. That's the most annihilating. Me too. This is the point where I make mistakes. You get excited, you have the feeling you're winning, and you get nervous, and then you feel like there's a pressure on you. But this is an insanely well-played game for a 3-minute game. Wow. Rook e2. This is also very strong, though. Quite good enough. Just pin it and win it. And f5 will come next. Bang. Oh, no. That is as fatal as it gets. Mate in 6. Bishop f6, strongly recommended. Wow. Ouch. Ouch.
N-O.
KO. This is like a KO. Queen f6, man. Ooh, that was ugly. Nice game. All right, guys. We have only like 20 minutes left in the stream, so I don't know about blitz games. I really want to get to the last games that we were supposed to analyze. So Nefedov and Soltigo were up next. Sorry if I forgot anyone, but it's too late. Nefedov is up. He's a tough player, regular here on my stream. All right, make sure we have the right game, basically. Zefcat. This was blitz chess. JCS can be quite brutal. He did win against me in the Fianchetto Kings Indian a couple weeks ago. Another very nice game. But f5 was the kind of thing that you have to teach yourself, you know, to kind of the sense of danger. I've seen people who are masters who have weak senses of danger. You know, I mean, it depends. Everybody has their weaknesses, but Black needed to have a sense of danger that f5 was dangerous there, and he didn't. You know, he's like, I'm playing the King's Indian, f5 is a normal move, I'm going to play it, you know. That wasn't a situation where f5 was a good move. It was like, realize that your king is not really in a safe place. Okay, so Zefcat is your sister. Wow, Nefedov, what are you doing now? You're trying to put up your games against streamers to look cool. All right, what happened here? So Nefedov is actually Black. Camel Culture's sister. Wow, impressive. Outrating. I did not know that. Outrating Nefedov. Nefedov he's a sandbagger. You know, I think it's safe to say that Nefedov is a sandbagger. He purposely keeps his blitz rating low, but he's a really solid player. I mean, he's better than most people you'll play who are 1761. D4, he's Black here. This is a 5-3 casual blitz game, so it's not a long time control. So usually Nefedov will like submit his like long games for analysis. Got to keep in mind this is a blitz game. C6. You know, a lot of people will argue that knight c3 is like an inaccuracy. I mean, and I think that if you're playing against Korchnoi or something, doing like d takes c4 would be dangerous, but there are some Slav players who are going to call your bluff here. I think that this move really ought to be strongly considered, you know. But again, you have to be well prepared. You know, I think this is a critical test. And Victor the Terrible would play e4. And it's kind of a cross between the Slav and the Queen's Gambit accepted. But I mean, I think that some purists will argue that this is the way to go for black against knight c3. You see there Carlsen against Nakamura, Mamedyarov Nakamura. So Hikaru clearly, is of the opinion that this is a good line for black. Spidler lost, but it was against Kasparov. And what are you gonna do? Anyways, mostly like players with black are kind of shy to play that way. E5, the winnower, like gambit or whatever it is. I mean, that's pretty crazy, but possible. But I wouldn't recommend that as sound. Okay, Nefedov just transposes knight f3, and now he takes, and now we've got a4. I like to see the Geller gambit get wheeled out once in a while. That's really the critical test of the Slav. I mean, if you think about it. But again, something I wouldn't play without preparation, and even then it's probably overanalyzed to death. I've been playing like sometimes e4, b5. I have a student who played bishop g4 here. You have to play b5. Like, there is no other move. Like, you can't decline to go into the Geller gambit. This is probably, if you're a tactician, the way the white should play against weaker players. I used to play this routinely with white when I was like 2200. Playing against, or even 2300 or even higher. Then when I became like 2400, I realized everyone I was playing was like really, really good. And it wasn't easy to just beat them with this caveman style. So, but anyways, if you're a Slav player, you have to know, I mean, whatever you call it, long variation of the Slav, you have to know how to handle the Geller gambit. Anyway, that's another story for another stream. So d takes c4, a4, bishop f5. I played knight h4 here against Nefi, and we had a fun game, but that's a line that I don't know that well. And I traditionally, knight e5 is like the sharpest line. I have no idea where the theory's at on this at the moment. But Zefcat plays e3, which is the classical solid way to play, and I played a billion games with white. It's basically impossible to get an advantage. But it's solid. It's just safe and solid for white. e6, bishop takes c4, bishop b4. Castles. Black has choices between knight bd7 and castles. Castles is safer. Who's playing this for black? What, John Bartholomew had a game where he went into the crazy gambit line? That's taking your life in your hands. There was like a John Bartholomew game. I'm just mentioning him because he's a streamer. He's pretty well known. But he played this line like knight on bd7. What do we got here? Queen e2, bishop g6. In a tournament like last year's Isle of Man, or I don't know where it was. I mean, this is really, 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 really dangerous for black. I strongly recommend against going into this line against the 26 or 2700. But this can be played different ways for black. I think that the safer approach would be to castle, and not try any kind of fancy stuff with going to crazy gambit lines. Nefi castles, and then white plays a pretty rare move here, rook e1. Never seen this before. That seems strange because you're putting your rook in a pin there. I guess this is just like one random game. Bong Villemeyer, who later would be like, what is he, an IM or GM? I don't know. The other guy I'd never heard of. Just another Nikolic. But rook e1 is getting out of book. So, what can you advise for a black defense against d4 without much theory and still good winning chances? Yeah, we need an all-in. We need an approach that works against everything. It has no weaknesses. Basically a panacea. A black defense against d4 without much theory and still good winning chances in weekend tourneys. The Mexican defense? I mean, like d4, knight c6. I don't know. Like, there are very few things that don't have much theory anymore. I guess, practically speaking, against d4, like g6 is probably the best scoring move. And, you could probably play any sort of hyper-modern stuff. But as far as no theory, something like d4, knight c6 would be your best bet. So anyway, like you're supposed to play queen e2 here for white. Knight h4 is another main line. You know, I'm not going to turn this into a theoretical lesson, but rook e1 is a non-theory move. White, I guess, trying to play like e4, but it's hard to do that, you know. Nefedov played this. This almost feels like a mistake, though. You know, I don't think she's actually threatening e4. So you're kind of jumping the gun a little bit. It looks like Mr. Nikolic played knight on bd7. But I'm not sure that knight e4 is a bad move. The engine actually likes it. I would think I would want to develop. And another move is c5, which Stockfish is talking about. You know what's funny about c5? Because she played rook e1. Because when you play c5 in this type of Slav, it's always usually bad because white can go knight a2. But the funny thing about her move, like rook e1, is like literally like that's the only move where white can't go knight a2 in response to c5, which is kind of funny. All right, so rook e1, weird move, knight e4. It almost looks like he's trying to force things too hard here. I mean, even bishop d2 is not so bad for white. Like bishop d2, you're gonna have to take the bishop right. This is actually not better for white, obviously, but not that much worse. Probably the bishop pair is worth something, but I think that's the simplest approach. I like breaking the pin. Here she played queen b3. This is more aggressive. I mean, you've got threats against the b7 pawn. Once again, you don't have knight a2. So a5 is okay. Queen e7? Can we play queen e7? It looks like you could play queen e7. You didn't do that. I don't see, you know, how this is terribly bad, but the computer likes a5. Queen a7, you know, e7 is a move that protects both b7 and the bishop on there. So a5. Whoa. Queen a5 was played. a5 is safer. Once again, Nefedov, the rook e1 being a specific move here. There's no knight a2 because the bishop takes e1. Otherwise, you might have problems with your bishop, you know, queen takes b7. Queen a5 looks like you're playing the Cambridge Springs defense. And the computer has some refutation here. Knight takes e4. Bishop takes what? Knight takes e4. Let's just check this. This is Tactics 101. There's a problem, apparently. Well, my computer is very, very slow, so that's a move I don't quite fully fathom. Neither did white or black here, so anyway, who cares? Okay, bishop d2, knight takes d2, knight takes d2, and then it's just a position. It's like the Cambridge Springs, where black has the bishop pair, but white's center is pretty solid, so develop a piece. Good. Still knight a2 is not on. This is debatable for white to play e4 here. I think she's pushing the envelope a little bit too hard. I mean, there's a very serious chance that white gets punished on the dark squares because they don't have a dark squared bishop, basically. So if you make a move like e4, you have to be conscious of the fact that, hey, I don't have a dark squared bishop. You know, that's black's jolly joker, as my friends say in Europe. And when black has a dark square jolly joker, you have to be particularly careful about these dark squares. And I think this is where things start to go kind of wrong for white. I mean, I would imagine, I didn't see what happened, but I would imagine that those dark squares could fall. You know, c5 could make unpleasantness, e5. No, Nefedov didn't go for the dark squares. You know, I think the knight b6 is a different plan. Kind of a weird move again. I would have developed my pieces. It's not a bad move, but he's neglecting e5. Not the safest move. You know, I think that something like rook, any kind of rook move, any sort of sensible rook move here would be my first choice. But this is like concrete. Maybe Nefedov, maybe you should consider playing the Queen's Cambridge Spring variation. The Cambridge Springs, man. It looks like you're a natural for that. Seriously. Bishop d3 and then rook d8, just increasing the pressure. The one thing about knight b6, it actually It sort of shelters the b7 pawn. You've got c5, though. I think he should be going for the dark squares. He is putting pressure on the dark squares, but he needs to act at some point. Doesn't, though. He just keeps building pressure. That's cool. Yeah, she missed this. I mean, bishop h5. That's a strong move. It's like you get out of one pin and into the other pin. Maybe rook fd1, I thought, and then like bishop h5, bishop back to e2. And white's just kind of holding on. You know, I still prefer black with the bishop pair. White's a little overextended, but I think she's still holding on, you know, at this point. But this is like a bad move, and now there's just problems. Like d4 is just falling. I think that you can't defend anymore. And this is just material. Not only material, but white structure is decimated. You know, I don't think that white can really save this if black plays a decent game from here on out. Queen c2, g6. This is like just technically lost for white. Snaps that pawn, and it's too much material. The white king is not safe. The structure is bad. Plus there's like knight coming to d5, knight f4. So, and I guess she was hunting for cheapos here with queen c1 and queen h6, but it's just not going to work. He just takes the piece and it's over. All right, guys, let's take a look at Soltigo's last submission. Turkey Farm, what's up, guys? The Cambridge Springs yourself. Well, the Cambridge Springs is solid. You know, I'd say it's a really solid defense. The Stonewall, that's interesting. Grandmaster Nicholas Sedlak made the point to me that he likes the Stonewall because like it's not easy for white to trade pieces, and I had never really thought about it like that, you know. But Sedlak is like a French defense player, so I think if you play the French defense, playing the Dutch is like any kind of e6 based Dutch. That's important. Like there's a tie-in between the French defense, but Vinnick was like a player who played the Stonewall Dutch and the French. All right. So last game, Soltigo. Where is Soltigo? Please analyze all after all of their subscribers. Please focus between moves 10 and 36. Don't narrow it down too much. Please focus between moves 3 and 74. What are some strategic goals and ideas for white to help convert this winning position? All right, it's a 100-move game. No, it's only 46. So last game for today, guys. I'm going to close down the stream. Thanks, everyone, for watching and subscribing. And thanks for joining me for my subscriber stream. Let's try to get the average number of viewers up to 75. We can get a partner on Twitch and get some more emotes going on, if nothing else. This is our sort of moderator here, Mr. Soltigo. But why about anyway? Well played, Nefedov. Yes, I agree with Acerbate. Well played. Not enough credit to Nefedov there. I just take it for granted. I mean, he's good and he acts really modest all the time, but he's stronger than he thinks he is. So I just expect him to play well. You know, he always plays well against me. All right, this is Soltigo. He's playing white against some 2200. Soltigo, another player who's quite talented. I say that about all the guys. So d4, d6, c4, knight f6, knight f3. Oh, it's so painful playing against the old Indian, isn't it? There's like nothing creative you can really do. There's Bologan again. He can transfer to the King's Indian now, but his knight's stuck on d7. There's no knight c6, Victor. Okay, e5. I like the fianchetto, but here, Soltigo makes like a kind of... Okay, he said to concentrate later, not on the opening. But anyway, I don't like d5. Like, it's just weird to close the position too early. Whatever. It's playable. You have a space advantage. I don't like closing it up. Releasing the tension. c6. That's a move that looks like it could lose by force. But I'd certainly spend a little time here, you know, thinking. Seriously consider taking on c6. I mean, we're so close to something here, you know, but it's just too slow. There's no good square for the knight. Knight e1. What's our follow-up? This is very, very, very tempting, you know. to turn this into a hyper modern opening. Um, Knight c3, and you're close to something, but is it all a ghost? Like rook b8. Or have we just given up our center? It's like an inverted Grunfeld or something. It's a way to play. As I said, like Gingy would have liked this for white. He played a lot of this kind of stuff where he would they play d5 early and take on c6 or take on e6 in the King's Indian, which he actually got me to do at one point, but it's weird, you know. Anyways, all right, whatever. Classically maintain the center here. a5. We transpose back into theory apparently. Wang Yui against Filipov, Emmanuel Bricard, and Nicholas Pert. So we transpose to obscure old Indian theory. Queen c2 I don't mind too much in this position. Black doesn't seem like he's too fast to the c file, but you have to be careful. It probably would still not be my first choice. You can still consider taking on c6. You consider b3, e4. We start thinking here. Okay, knight c5, bishop e3. You're kind of threading a cheapo here. He takes, you take back. Prophylactic move. Wow. Soltiga goes right for it. Like, there's a tactic in the position, and he goes right for it. Yeah. I don't know what I would have played with black here, but I don't play the old Indian, so. Knight fd7 is the move that comes to mind. It's awful for the bishop on c8, but it just locks everything down, you know. So I think this sort of thing, like here, and maybe you can dream about playing f5 with black. He had to be careful, you know. And basically Soltigo snaps him with a tactic. I don't like giving up this bishop, man, and I don't think the position hinges on that. You know, it seems like I'd rather not, you know. If I was playing a blitz game, I would play h3, and I would, oh, I missed a tactic with knight takes e5. Okay, we stop knight g4, we weaken our king side. But here he's got knight takes e5 immediately. I mean, that seems like the way you should do this. Do we have to give up our dark squared bishop to execute this combination, you know? Why do we need to make this exchange on c5? Is this contingent on executing this combo? Because I think they're just two different things. Like, what's up here? Like, why not just do it straight up? Rook a7, rook wherever, you know, and so here. And so I like this for white. I mean, I think like we're slightly better. It's not a big deal, but we have a bishop pair. Maybe he has more weaknesses. It's a little bit superior for white. You wanted to get his d-pawn to move. Okay, so this is what he said. Bishop takes c5. You wanted to get his d-pawn to move. But I don't see it, man. Like, okay, you're structurally better, though. You know, there's an argument that this is just, like, structural advantage for white. That would be my argument. You know, that the inclusion of this exchange gives you a concretely superior pawn structure. This did not happen in the game, though. This did not happen. He played d takes e5, d6, bishop takes d6. Does not compute.
No!
Wait. Yeah, it's like this guy failed in math class or something. I mean, why do we have to lose like the exchange? I don't really understand. I would rather lose nothing than lose the exchange. That would be my preference. But he plays bishop takes d6. He's like, yeah, I want to lose the exchange really bad. All right, bishop takes a8. That was weird. So you should say thank you for the Christmas present. I see nothing wrong with what you did. You know, there was a question about bishop takes c5, but so far you're asking me, you know, what should you do? This is not the problem. Bishop a6, you're just like up material. Bishop g2 looks good. You're killing the guy. Bring a rook to the d file. Start trading pieces. Game over. b3's good. What can you do? Just trade the pieces and win. Rook c1's good. I mean, see, you might argue for like knight to d5 here, Soltigo. I think the first thing we want to do is simplify. There's a Pixie song, and in that there was like simplify, simplify, kick a hole in the sky or something like that. I don't know, but just trade the pieces off, and that's the simplest way to win. You're up material, you trade down. That's it. So Rook C1 though is a completing the development. Botvinnik would have been proud of you for this, and I probably might have done the same thing. But be careful not to let him avoid exchanges. That's good. You got the exchange. That's all you need. Now it's just a matter of winning. Trade the white square bishops. Okay, I mean, it's not that easy to break him down. He has that bishop holding e5. It's going to take some moves to do this. Let's see. So e4. You see the evaluation by the computer drop when he played e4 a little bit. That's interesting. I mean, it's hard to criticize e4 though. Why is the computer dropping with e4? It doesn't like that those bishops start getting kind of active, right? e3 is safer, man. We just don't even give him bishop h6 and any kind of stuff. So e4 is slightly weakening, but it's a rock solid bishop. I think you also... No, I don't know. e4 is slightly weakening. He's getting counterplay. Queen d2. You're being materialistic. But you need a plan, so why not? I don't know what else to do, honestly. You could consider h4, but I kind of agree with you not weakening the king side further. You're also stopping bishop h6. This looks good. Yeah, here you weren't materialistic. I probably might have declined this pawn too. You could possibly argue for taking the pawn so that you could trade off his last rook and grab another open file. I think that's an argument for taking on a4. Like, hey, rook b4, rook b1. Now all my rooks have open files. So, as far as technique goes, I mean, you might make a case for that. But okay, everything's cool so far. I don't understand this recapture with the bishop, really. It looks like you got... you kind of got distracted or something. I mean, the bishop looks good. I think takes with the a pawn, and then like you take over the a file. That would be the logical plan. It looks like you were hunting for this, but you've given him a chance. He does have a passed pawn, and when you recapture with the pawn, I think you keep him more at bay. There's an outside chance his c pawn bothers you. Now, this became a passed pawn now in this moment when you took with the bishop instead of taking with the a pawn. Mr. Opponent has a passed pawn. He formerly didn't have a passed pawn. So that's a small matter, but it might be important. And then rook... Wow, okay. You were frustrated. You had 2 minutes with the exchange up. This is totally impatient, You're winning. I mean, actually, I'm surprised you didn't play this. This looks like a typical natural move. And he can defend just barely with rook b7. This was just a crazy, impatient moment by white. Rook takes c5. That's the... I don't know what to do and I'm getting frustrated, so I'm going to sacrifice material back. But that's just, like, not necessary, Just absolutely not necessary. I mean, I thought when you played bishop b3... your entire point for playing bishop b3 was like to bring your rook down on the 7th rank, to be honest. Queen d2 was the top engine move. But I didn't realize at first it had double purpose. A5 and an h6. It's like double coverage on both sides of the board. But I don't understand. Like, it looked like the single most important reason why you played bishop takes b3 rather than a takes b3 was to play rook d7. Then you didn't do it, which is weird. Now you sack on c5. This also could just be a sign of like kind of lack of concentration. That's what it looks like to me. You just like kind of didn't concentrate for a period, for a move or two. And now what? Rook takes d8, queen takes d8. Okay, when you look at the stockfish here, it's just like +4 almost. But that's only because of very concrete moves. if this is one pawn, it's kind of a tough position to win. But it looks like you've got multiple ways to end his life here with queen d5 and queen a7. And you played the third best move. And that's a good way not to win games. I do it all the time, like constantly. This looks like the kind of move I would have played in a blitz game if I was just a little tired or not really concentrating well. But that's the kind of move that doesn't win games, you know. This is the key moment, and it's easy to take the engine and just say, well, this was the winning, this was winning, and that's what you should have done. But I try to put it in a way that's more, you know, more human. I mean, try to concentrate more on finding forcing moves. You know, that's the thing that these moves have in common is how forcing they really are. Queen a7 is a double attack. It's a concrete double attack. So we should be looking for forcing moves like that. Queen d5 is the same thing. It's actually a double attack as well. If you count trading queens as a double attack. So I think Saltigo, just simple improvement of kind of concentration will bring you good results. But it's just a game. It's a blitz game. I don't think there's any major questions, you know, here to be answered. You just simply played the third best move in a winning position. You're worried here that trading queens should be a draw. Could be a draw. If this was a rook endgame, you'd be 100% justified. If this was a queen endgame, you'd be slightly justified. But actually, a bishop endgame is the worst. You know, probably like the worst scenario here, I think, for black. I mean, one of the worst scenarios, like a knight endgame. That outside pawn, I mean, outside passed pawns in bishop endgames are really, really strong. If his king was anywhere close over there, though, I mean, let's take a look. You know, queen d5. I just assumed this is like lights out. I was going to play bishop takes d5. I mean, you could also take with the pawn and imbalance the structure even more and have two passed pawns. You could see his king getting into the dark squares and setting up a sort of blockade on a square like c5. It could be really problematic. But you're not going to just let him walk all over you. But bishop takes d5, let's say f6. Is there any truth in what Saltigo's talking about here? I mean, even if he could get his king to c5, let's see. You know, a4, king g7, a5, just for argument's sake. King f8. I don't know now. f4. Let's say f4. E takes f4. G takes f4. You're going to have two passed pawns. It's a tricky position, but I don't think that black realistically, you know, with such a powerful outside pawn in a bishop endgame, that's usually decisive. So, in a rook endgame, you'd be absolutely justified. Yeah. So anyways, let's see what happened. I'm not surprised if you didn't win this. You're kind of drifting. You've got the outside pawn. That's your win, you know. Now he's really close to holding on. I mean, this looks like a Reshevsky endgame or something for black. You might have a hard time here now. He's blockaded your single pass pawn. I mean, this became a very, very technical position now. You know, not easy to win at all. So, yeah, man. I mean, this is tough. Very, very tough at this point. Especially in a fast control. And I think you just went nuts with f4, but this wasn't easy. You know, I mean, I think the decisive moment was when you failed to play the critical moves. I mean, even after bishop d5, but, you know, again, I think he was just like blundering here. Okay, he has a mate down there. But if you were just kept your wits about you, you know, you had queen a7 here, which is like crushing. You can't save the game. So just don't panic and focus on forcing moves and be confident, you know. But in the end, I mean, I think it was really a difficult endgame. I mean, when you're just up one pawn at the end, before you freaked out with f4, honestly, this is a really tough endgame, you know. And you put Magnus Carlsen in this position against another GM, he'd have a lot of work to win this position. It would be like 20 plus moves to make progress, probably, for white, if he could win at all, you know. I mean, I'm not sure that this is necessarily even a win. It's really close to a win, but I'm not certain. it's a position where you could see a very long endgame here from 2,700 players. Okay, guys, I'm out. So it was great working with you guys for the subscriber stream. I hope it was instructive. International Master William Pascal signing off. Don't forget, I do upload all the streams to my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. I also like to thank you guys who supported the stream with bits donations, and obviously supported the stream with PayPal donations, and most importantly, subscriptions. I'm relying on you guys to keep the stream going with donations and subscriptions, and this is my way of giving back this subscriber stream, just really basically for the subscribers. I mean, I welcome all the viewers, but every Thursday I do this especially for my subscribers. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, subscribing. Thanks to Soltigo, and well, anyway, he said his main mistake, was fearing trading down would lead to a draw through most of the game. Yeah, this knowledge of endgames is important. I mean, that's why knowledge of bishop endgames gives you the ability in the middle game to make transitions to endgames without fear, Anyway, guys, so thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll be back tomorrow with Blitz and Rapid Chess. No, actually, just Blitz. 5+3, Fast Friday, 4 p.m. What time zone am I in? East Coast USA, so EDT. 4 p.m. EDT, Fast Friday Blitz. 5+3 tomorrow, guys. I'm going to get some dinner. I will see you later. Have fun, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.